My name is Jenessa Blanchet, and I've been in Cochrane for 10 and a half years now. Moved here in the fall of 2012. I'm born and raised on the West Coast in the traditional territory of the Tla'amin people. So when I moved here, I was really excited about the proximity to the mountains. I love Cochrane for the landscape. That was important to me, coming from somewhere as beautiful as the West Coast. And I loved the small town feel of Cochrane. The island that I'm from is only about 1,200 people. When I think about my sort of before that, what I went through sort of led to me having this journey through mental wellness. I was pretty young, so it's when I think back, it's I guess it looked like I was just fully myself. So, everything felt free. I felt safe. I felt completely myself. I was thinking my favorite album when I was 13, 14 was The Proclaimers. And that song, 500 Miles, the energy of it. Yeah. And so I drove my parents crazy. I had the cassette tape and I would just hit rewind. And I'd be dancing in my bedroom and they were just completely losing their minds downstairs. But I think that's if I could capture what it felt like when I was my most sort of innocent, well self, it would be kind of that song. Yeah, everything felt possible. There was that excitement. That was kind of the before me. I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and that can be really hard to sort of pinpoint, because when you've experienced something that has kind of completely rewired your brain and turned you upside down in the moment, I would say, there's flags where you're ooh, this isn't right. And then those flags become kind of tinier and tinier because you're losing your ability to sort of assess where you are. And I kind of see it as, I think happiness has an arc that goes up. So, we reach our most happy here. And I think, low mental wellness is the arc that's sort of been flipped. And I reflect back on, the beginning of that arc for me is kind of when I was crying, or when I was feeling angry, or I was feeling something and recognizing that something wasn't right. But then the lower you go is actually, for me, where I didn't feel anything, where you stop reacting, which I didn't really understand until I reflected back on what I went through and who I was, that moment where I just wasn't feeling anything. I wasn't reacting. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I was just numb. It was more like a retroactive, a looking back awareness, but not in the moment. In the moment, I think when I was still feeling things, that's where I was something's not right here. But I was probably, less aware of how much lower I went, in that moment. My mom went through her own, as everybody does, so she had a lot of experience with her own sort of journey through life. So I think one of the things that really helped is nobody ever sort of pushed in and said, this is what you need to do. It was sort of just I knew that there were people that were there. And then, I'm still not really sure, because again, there's so much that kind of just feels blurry on what it was that sort of started to chip away and sort of bring me again back up to the arc, where then all of a sudden I was crying, I was feeling things, and that was kind of coming back up again to myself. But definitely my mom was a huge, just even being, here's a book to read, or talking it through, or creating that safe space, and friends as well. Once I started talking, to just, to be there, just to listen. One of the things I would say for sure is talking. So talking about it. So I still call my mom. That's sort of my go-to is talking about it. Painting. That was a huge part of my healing journey, was sort of just painting a lot of stuff out. For me, the biggest thing right now in the present is a pause. So just recognizing that whatever I'm feeling is okay. That just taking that moment to just if I'm feeling anxious, if I'm feeling scared, if I'm feeling stressed, to just pause and sit with it for a minute, and just acknowledge that it's there. It's I'm feeling off today, and that's okay. Just pausing and sort of just digesting what that's feeling like, and then moving forward, whether that's going for a walk, or if it's, going for a run or painting or journaling, listening to music, whatever it is that I kind of need to do. But the first step for me is really just to understand what it is I'm feeling in the moment. Nobody is ever alone. So I was really lucky in that I had a wonderful family circle. I had friends that were supportive that I could go to, and not everybody has that. Everybody's situation is different. But if you don't have, friends and family that you feel safe with and you can trust, there's agencies. There's agencies local to wherever it is you are. Maybe it's a coworker. There's somebody always who's walking along beside you in the wings that you can't see, that is just ready and willing to help you. And the other thing that I would say is there was this quote that was, when you can tell your story and it doesn't make you cry, you've healed, which I actually think is crap. And I think because, if somebody sat down and repeated my story, but it was coming from somebody else, it would make me feel something. And so I think we're allowed to feel something for our past selves and our own stories. And when we say that, that quote also makes it kind of sound like there's an end point to healing, which is totally not the case. That your healing journey and your mental wellness journey will be something that you do and carry with you for the rest of your life, and that's okay. So don't feel like you haven't, made it, that you haven't healed, that you're not doing it right because there's still stuff coming up, or you're still feeling triggered, that's okay. One of the things that we tend to want to do, regardless of whatever it is someone we care about is going through, especially if they're in a situation that's unsafe, is we want to fix it for them. We want to tell them to leave. We want to tell them, you need to go talk to somebody. You need to do this. You need to follow through with something. You need to take action. And when we do that, we're giving that person something possibly big and scary and what might feel impossible to do. And so I would say, for people who are looking to support somebody else, the best thing that you can do is just create space for them. Say, what do you need? And I'm here when you need me in whatever way in the moment that supports you. Because then you're just leaving that space open. And sometimes somebody might not be ready to take action. They might not want to go talk to a doctor or an agency or seek help in any way. But you're just creating this safe space for them. And when we tell somebody, these are the things you should do, you're filling that space with what you actually need versus what they need. So just create a safe space. You don't have to dive into what you think might be going on with somebody, but even just asking, are you okay? At least tells that person that you're paying attention. And I think it's okay too when we see something that we know, if we totally understand that somebody's in an unsafe situation, to also just say, I'm worried about your safety, or so that you're reinforcing that you're seeing something that we know is not okay, but really pausing and putting a stop between, asking if everything's okay and then trying to fix it and telling somebody what to do. I don't know if you've seen the Netflix series Made. So there was a moment in there which I just think is just such an incredible visual. And I think it speaks to whether it's a domestic violence situation or if it's a mental wellness situation, where she lies down on the couch and the couch kind of swallows her up and she's down at the bottom of this dark well. And they toggle back and forth between that visual and her sort of going about her daily life. She's making dinner, she's picking up her kids, she's hugging her husband. But then it would flip back to her soul, herself is at the bottom of that well. And I think if somebody's trying to understand what, mental unwellness looks like, I just thought that was such a beautiful, visual of what that's like. That you're out there, you're in the world, everything might look like it's okay, but this is what, is actually going on inside. So that was just something that I kind of wanted to highlight and share.